Hey, how's it going? Today I want to be walking you through a little bit of almost like a part two to the article that I did here inside the UIG called the Bull Run Bag versus the Treasury. And just I wanted to give a little bit of a summary of these two things because I, in the past, have used these interchangeably, and they're just not for me anymore. They're just not. They're two very distinct, different basket of assets with different time horizons, different missions, different goals, a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to very quickly kind of walk through the difference between Bull Run Bag and Treasury. Bull Run Bag for me is more of a short to midterm hold for the intention of price appreciation, and the intention is to sell or to take profit on that price appreciation in the short to midterm. And what I mean by that is usually in the course of one cycle. And so we usually have a bull market where prices go up, and then a bear market when things start to decline, and then almost like an extended bear market where things just go sideways, right? And so for me, that time of price appreciation during a bull run, that is when I want to be kind of squeezing the juice out of the fruit that I have accumulated during that bear market. And so the bull run bag, again, is a basket of assets that I want to be taking profit on and laddering out of during that one cycle. Where a treasury is a long-term hold, something that I would actually want to buy more of, and I want to increase my exposure to as prices are declining. And as we enter an extended bear market, I'm going to be accumulating more of that asset. So just to give you an example, for me, Bitcoin is in my treasury. And so what that means is that if Bitcoin is $114,000 as I'm recording this today, if Bitcoin drops to 90,000 and 80,000 and 70,000 and 60,000, right? If that happens, I'm going to be accumulating more of that. Where if I had something in my bull run bag over here and it declined from $5 to $4 to $3 to $2, I would not be feeling excited about accumulating more of that asset. I would be like, shoot, did I mess up? Did I not take profit early enough? Those two kind of mindsets or two different approaches are, in my opinion, very different. And so I'm trying to distinguish between the bull run bag and the treasury, and hopefully these definitions are making sense. Let me go through my notes here. Yeah, so bull run back, these are not assets that I believe that I would want to hold long term. It's not that I don't like them. It's not that I don't think that they solve good problems. It's not that they're bad projects. I just wouldn't want to hold them for decades. Right? These are projects that usually have a lot of competition. So what I mean by that is, if there's a lot of other projects that are trying to solve the same problem, like a lot of different coins and tokens that are kind of used interchangeably out there, the more competition that there is for that asset, the harder say like this, the less I believe it will be a market leader in the future, right? Something like Bitcoin kind of stands on its own. There's nothing that really compares to what Bitcoin is or what it does, or because it was kind of the start of the whole movement. But when it comes to those AI agent coins that came out back in January and February, there was tons of competition. They were all trying to do very similar things. And so those are assets that I would not necessarily hold in my treasury just because there's so much competition surrounding them. So for me, those sit in my bull run bag, let's say. The other thing, kind of more of like a tactical thing, is I'm unlikely to dollar cost average into them if the price dips. And so with my bull run bag, I have something I always pick on Matic or Polygon, right? That is one that is in my bull run bag, and I'm wanting to aggressively take profits on Matic if it ever moves to the upside again. But that is not one that I am getting excited about dollar cost averaging into if the price dips, right? If it goes from 25 cents to 20 cents, like I'm not dipping into my pockets to buy more of it. But if Bitcoin drops from 114 down to 100 or down to 90, like I am dipping into my pockets, into my fiat pockets, and accumulating more of that Bitcoin. So that's the big distinction between these two things here. Like I said, take profits on the way up, not holding it through the bear market. I want to be taking profits on the way up, and then as the price drops, I'm moving into other activities, or I'm going to be adding to my treasury. So the difference between the treasury is that I want to be dollar cost averaging consistently no matter what the price is. And if the price drops or market dips, I'll be accumulating more of it. So this right here for me is more of an investment mindset, where this is almost like a short to, or almost like a midterm trade, I guess is the way you could say it, where my treasury is something that I want to just be compounding and accumulating more of. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I wanted to give you a little bit of actually, PS, if you're in the UIG and you have not gone through this video, I think you should, because what I just summarized, I go into a little bit more in depth, so I think it'll be really valuable for you. It's called Bull Run Bag versus Treasury. Yes, they're different, and here's why. Nice long title there for you. And then, yeah, I just summarized it here. Now, I wanted to get a little more in the weeds and just kind of show you a little behind the scenes of what I have done, or what I am currently doing. And I do give you some numbers, not saying to copy me or to think about in any way. It's just an example. It's just what my current setup looks like. And so I have right here, I can show you. Actually, I'll come back to that here in a second. What I did is I mapped out what are my current single asset holdings. So basically, this is a combination of my treasury and my bull run bag. Now I have like 20, I think it's 24 assets here. I would not recommend that. For me, it is too many. I just haven't sold any yet. I'm okay managing this many. But for somebody that might be on the newer side, having more than a 10 or a dozen might get a little overwhelming when it comes to managing and taking profits and just, yeah, managing the whole system. So, but for me, with the nature of my position as a leader inside of the UIG, a lot of people come to me with great projects, right? They'll come to me and say, oh my gosh, you got to check out this. And they give me their white paper and they give me, learning information. And I go, wow, this is amazing. And then I'll start investing into it. So that's sort of the 24 assets that I have here is actually a little less than I've had just only a couple short months ago. I've gotten rid of some of them. But this right here is an accumulation of all of the different opportunities people have put on my plate. But anyways, I digress. What I wanted to show here is that this is a combination of my treasury, which is in my case right now is just my Bitcoin. Everything else is really in my bull run bag, meaning that I really want to be taking profits on the other 23 assets that I have here. And that is ETH and SUI and Solana and HBAR and Render and Quant and Stacks and XLM and Tau, like all of these other assets that I want to be taking profit on here in the short to midterm and aggressively locking in those gains as they go up. And then the mission is to take that profit, move it into other DeFi, what I'm calling phase 2, or moving it into a bear market strategy to help me accumulate more assets for my treasury. So a nice visual map here that we have inside the UIG in one of these trackers here, as you can see, hey, these are all my single asset holdings. And then what I like is the visual representation of what those assets look like. So right now, my portfolio snapshot, I have 29% in Bitcoin, 23.8% in ETH, 18.2% in SUI, 12.2% in Sol, and then they have a basket of assets that are on the smaller side right there. So Bitcoin, ETH, SUI, Sol are the biggest makeup of the assets that I hold in a single asset exposure. So this is not my liquidity pools. These are all just assets that I'm holding spot, right? Hopefully that makes sense. And so what I wanted to do was kind of I wanted to show this so you can kind of get an idea for it, and then just understand that not everything is in my bull run bag. So Bitcoin I'm not selling. And I wanted to almost give permission to you to have things in your treasury that things maybe you don't want to sell. And so there was a gentleman that I was working with in the fast track program, and he came to me and he said, on one of my calls, and he said, Colin, like, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin or ETH. I think it was both. It was like, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin to ETH. Like, I don't want to sell those, like, but I have them in my bull run bag. Like, I have them in, I have ladder outs for them, but I don't actually want to sell them. And so I almost had to like give him permission of like, you don't have to sell your assets. You don't have to. We just recommend doing that with the assets, again, that fit into the bull run bag section here. If you don't want to hold this thing long term and you're not excited about buying dips and accumulating more of it, then aggressively take profits on them. Meaning if prices are going up, sell them, sell parts of them as it goes up. Where I had to give him permission to have a treasury, have permission to hold something long term. And so for him, Bitcoin and ETH were those two assets that he wanted to hold on to for a very long time. He's like, I don't want to sell these. I just want to accumulate more. And so what I did is I actually showed him the article that I wrote for the UIG right here, which I think he appreciated. And I really just described, hey, these are two different basket of assets. My bull run bag, I'm selling, I'm taking profits on. My treasury, I'm just accumulating more. And so my KPI for my treasury is the quantity of that asset continuously going up over time. right? I want more Bitcoin tomorrow than I have today. I want more Bitcoin 3 months from now than I have tomorrow. That's what I want to see in terms of my KPI for my treasury, consistently going up. My bull run bag is a little different. That I want to have almost ladder out zones where I want to be aggressively taking profit on. So if ETH hits 4,700, I want to be taking profit. I want to be selling a portion of my ETH at that level. If ETH then hits 5,100, I'm selling another portion of my ETH to aggressively take profit and move that capital into phase 2 of my operation. If you want more videos on phase 2 of the operation, let me know. I can certainly start whipping that up. But I did want to break down these two categories right here and give you a snapshot of what I'm doing in terms of the diversity of my portfolio, but then to show you the vast majority of these I want to be selling and taking profit on, because I don't know if Injective is going to be around in the next bull run. But I do believe Bitcoin is. And so that's the distinction I want to make between those two assets. Not to pick on Injective. I like Injective. I like what they're doing over there. But I do not want to hold that thing for the next several decades, because there's going to be a lot of competitors that are doing what Injective is doing over the next several years as development and as more capital comes into this space. So hopefully that all makes sense. The other thing that I wanted to mention just very quickly was the difference so for me, like I have 44K in my single asset exposure portfolio. And like I just showed you, these are all the holdings and the different sizes of them. When I look at that compared to how much I have in supplied or DeFi positions, I actually have I think it was 75%. Let me do that math real quick. Yeah, 32,000 divided by 44,000 is 72%. So I have 72% of my single asset holdings in DeFi positions. So what that means is that they're either staked or they're supplied, they're lent, right? So those are the two activities that I participate in when it comes to single asset holdings. That for me is a little high. It's a little high. I'm not going to make any adjustments because I'm comfortable with it, but I would look for maybe 50 to 60% of my single asset holdings in DeFi activities, and then having the rest in my cold storage wallet. So for me, I have about $12,000 sitting in my cold storage wallets that are not in any DeFi activities at all. The vast majority of that is my treasury, and then I have 32,000 of that in supplied positions in lending platforms or in staked positions like Tau. Like I'm staking my Tau and I'm staking my Atom as examples. So I did want to break that down a little bit and just sort of start a dialogue and a conversation, because there's no right or wrong way. There's no there's no right or wrong way to go about this. Just for me, the way I have it set up is the majority of my capital is in DeFi activities where I can use that capital either as collateral or use it to generate more of it. So like when I'm staking Tau for 10% APY, I'm not moving that Tau anytime soon. And so if I can earn 10% in a compounding fashion on my staked Tau, I'm going to be doing that. Same with my Atom. I think I earn 20% staking my Atom, 20% a year staking my Atom, and it just sits there and compounds on top of itself. So for me, I want to use that capital to produce more of it and increase the quantity of those assets if there's a possibility. And so that's what I'm doing with, again, 72% of my portfolio there. Again, might be a little high for some people. For me, it's right in the sweet spot of what I want to do. And then like I said, I have 12K that's sitting in my cold storage wallet, not doing anything, not making any capital for me. It's sitting there with the mission to appreciate over time as my accumulation bags grow. So hopefully this makes sense. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them my way. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.